Hey guys, I wanted to do some landscape painting for you today. I thought it'd be easier to set this up at home rather than try to call everybody up to the demo table. So I chose a variety of landscape situations. Of course, we want to start from the background and move forward, so we're always going to paint the sky first. I have here 3 different sky situations. I have a blue sky with clouds over a beach scene. I have a sunset sky over a winter mountain scene with snow. And then I have this sky that's doing sort of a rainbow thing over here. So I was hoping that by talking about each of these different situations, it'll help you when you go to paint your landscape. So anyway, we spent some time in class warming up mixing primary shades plus black and white to create a variety of different colors. We found out that that's pretty amazing. You can make so many out of just those 5 colors. For the real landscape project, we're going to be using acrylic paints, and we added a few more colors to the mix. So I want to talk about those briefly. I'm going to start out with my warm shades. I have some different tones with red and yellow to help me create closer matches to what I'm observing in my photographs. I have here cadmium yellow light and cadmium yellow medium. I also have a yellow oxide, which is kind of like a butterscotch color. I have alizarin crimson, and then I have naphthol crimson. So this is kind of like, there's a little bit of like blue, purple sort of in here, I think, to make it cooler. And this is a warmer shade. Okay, it's more of a fire engine, like bright red. I also have some cool colors here. I have Cerulean Blue, which, this has kind of, I would say if you're creating like a greenish base, like in the water over here, you'd want to use this blue and take it in that direction. If you're creating more of like a purple blue color, like you're seeing in the mountains, you'd probably want to go with ultramarine. Okay. I also added some phthalo green, which is kind of like this, like bluish green. And I added a violet because I just feel like it's easier to mix these colors from a base than to, like try to create them with the primaries sometimes. It'll save some time. I also have a basket of neutral tones. I have black, Mars black, titanium white, and this burnt sienna. And burnt sienna is kind of a reddish brown. I like this color because by adding just a few drops of the black, you're able to create burnt umber, which, is pretty cool. It saves you from having to purchase that separately. So I put all of those out on my palette, and I'm going to do my mixing on a paper plate just so I could show you different tonal palettes that go into each of these landscapes. Okay, so when we're starting out, we want to assess whether or not it's necessary to add some masking tape. You have to do that if you're seeing a very clear horizon line. Like usually if you're painting an ocean scene, you'll have that very straight line separating the ocean and the sky. I don't have that going on in this picture. I do have that going on in this picture with the lake. So I'm just going to go ahead really quickly and determine where my horizon line is going to be. And I'm just going to put some tape down. And then that way when I remove that, to paint the ocean underneath the sky, I'm going to have a nice clean line. I'm going to have a nice clean line just like I see in the photograph. All right, so the first step in painting your sky is to put down a layer of white, okay? This is super important. If you're not doing this, I feel like it's more difficult to blend the colors over the background, and you could end up with this very stripy sort of look. So I'm just going to quickly paint the white over this. I'm going to try to move really fast with each of these. All right, I'm going to do some of that over here. All right, and then I'm going to do a little bit of that over here. This sky gets really dark at the top, so I'm just going to add my white to the bottom part of it for now. I probably have to move that tape up a bit because it looks like my horizon line is higher. Whoops. All right, I'll deal with that one in a second. Anyway, we have the white layer. Now we're going to start adding a little bit of blue. And I feel like I want to use that cerulean blue here because it's not so much like that dark purpley blue like I might see over here in this picture. This is more of like a lighter, it tends to lean toward like blending with green for the teal or whatever. So I'll just use this in my sky for the ocean. Sorry, that didn't come out very eloquently. But hopefully you get what I'm saying. All right, and then I see it's a little bit darker near the top, so I could go and I could add more blue to that. I just want to go back and forth and blend it so that I get a nice fade into the lighter shade. I'm trying to move as quickly as possible here because if I take too long to put my sky in, my colors are going to start to dry, or that paint's going to start to dry, and I'm not going to be able to blend my colors smoothly. Sometimes the paint that you're adding will mix with the wet paint that's already there. So I would definitely like to get, oh, there's a little brush hair. I would like to get a little bit darker up there near the top of the sky. But if I keep putting color over this white that's already down here, it's just going to keep blending in. So I'm going to give that a few minutes to dry, and then I'll go back and I'll try to add a little bit more of that darker shade, and hopefully it won't blend in as much. Okay, now I'm going to move on and paint my sunset sky. Let me just grab a clean brush here. Okay, good. I'm going to start out with this yellow that's close to the horizon. Okay, it's kind of like this, I'm going to use the cadmium yellow light, first of all. I'm just going to blend that over the white. I have a lot of that shade focused over here where the sun is rising over the mountains. Just going to blend that in smoothly. Then I have this peachy orange color. Okay, so I see little bits of that. Now, instead of putting red directly on my canvas, what I'm going to do is mix a little bit of that yellow that's already there with like a tiny dot of the red. I'm just going to grab that, like it's almost a pin drop size. I'm just going to mix it on my palette, just blend a very small amount of that in. All right, that seems like it's just about right. So I'm just going to bring that into my sky. I don't want to cover all of that yellow that's already there. So I just want to bring in like some subtle bits of orange. Maybe a little bit more of that. That color is a little strong, so let me grab more of my yellow, mix it in. You always want to do your mixing on a separate pile, because if I just took that yellow and like stirred the whole thing together, that orange would dominate it and it would just cancel out what I'm trying to mix. There we go. Okay, nice. See, I just want to move that across and do it very subtly so I'm not getting like obvious stripes going through my sky. Okay, that's important. All right, the orange gets a little bit darker near the top. We also have that purple in there, and I think that it's a little risky sometimes when you're blending orange with a color like purple because you could end up with kind of a murky brown color, so you have to be really careful with that. I did choose this aqua violet for the purple. I have some of that left at school. I didn't bring it with me at home. This is just a regular like prism violet. It's not the same shade. This is a little bit darker. Okay, I don't know if you can see that, if it really, looks any different to you. But aqua violet is a color that has a little bit more red in it. So I'm seeing that this purple has more of a reddish hue, so I want to bring in aqua violet. I'm just going to carefully, that's a little stripey, so I'll wipe that off my brush, and then I'll just mix in what's there. I'm leaning in. I hope I'm not blocking the camera. Yeah, that seems really nice. I also have some blue shades in there, like a little bit of like a purpley blue color. So I'm gonna wait until this dries a little bit more, and then I'm gonna go back in there. Make that a little bit darker near the top. My paintbrush is starting to dry out a little bit, so I'm just gonna dip the ends of the bristles in the water and get that to flow a little bit better. I don't want to add too much water to this paint. Just enough for it to flow. Oh, that's looking nice. Okay. I have a little bit of white in there too where the sun is coming up. Typically when you're looking at a landscape, you're not going to see like a big round sun. You'll probably see like just this really bright whitish yellow shade. Maybe you'll see a little hint of a circle there, but I'm going to wait for this yellow to dry a bit more and then I'll go back in and I'll paint the sun. Okay, so now moving on to this rainbow sky. This is going to be kind of challenging because I see that we have a yellow and we have like a blue pretty close to one another, you know, if we're looking beneath those clouds. And I think if I do these colors too quickly, we're going to end up with a green sky. So I want to go a little bit more carefully there. Okay, I'm going to pick up a little bit of yellow first, like what I see in here. This yellow is a little bit warmer, so I might just pick up a hint of this cadmium yellow medium and add it to the light. Okay, and then I'm just going to start this up here. Yeah, that's not enough. Let's pick up a little bit more. I feel like Bob Ross. Do you a happy little sky? Okay, I also have a little bit of orange up here and a bit of yellow, so I'm just going to continue that. That's probably more so created with the clouds, but I'll just get a little bit of that layer underneath everything. And what the heck, I'll take it down to the tape. We'll just make a lower water line. Okay. So while we're waiting for that to dry before we put the other colors into it, I'm going to talk a little bit about clouds. All right. If you're not careful with your clouds, you're going to end up with what looks like marshmallows floating in your sky. So what you have to do instead is create clouds that are a little bit more transparent. So instead of just adding a pure white to this, I'm going to start out by mixing just a lighter shade of blue than what's already in my sky. A little bit more white to that. Okay, and then the clouds, I just do these little circle motions with the brush and kind of flatten them out at the edge. White over here. All right, you can always go back and build up your cloud layers as this paint begins to dry. Okay, so I have a nice transparent layer of clouds. I don't want them to look too defined, you know, like some kind of obvious shape, because then it's going to be sort of a cartoon looking painting instead of being natural and more realistic. So try to just keep your shapes a bit more random, bumpy at the top and a little bit more flat at the bottom. I hope this is showing up well in the video. And when you're painting clouds, you don't have to do it like bump for bump like what you see in the photograph. Just kind of get your inspiration and the idea for the main shapes from your photo. So I'm not copying every cloud directly, but I'm just placing them where I see cloud coverage in that photo. Make it a little bit brighter over here. Made them disappear. Whoops. And as my paint starts to dry a little bit more of that white will show up instead of blending in with the background. Okay, good. So here in this one we had more of the purple clouds near the top. I'm going to start painting those in. Go back to my violet palette. All right, I just want to thin that out a little bit. So again, I want my clouds to be transparent and not like big marshmallows floating in the sky. All right, I'm going to start, oops, a little bit too much water, I think. Not really fond of what that brush is doing. We'll try to make that work. Whoops, too much. I'm actually going to switch that and use this brush instead. I have that really dark purple coverage up near the corner, but I feel like my colors might be a little bit too, they need to dry a little bit more before I put that in. I have those dark purple clouds in the background. I'll begin to build up that layer. There's a couple floating in the sky over here. I'll give this one more time to dry. Anyway, this one should be okay at this point. Close to being okay. I'm actually going to stop that.